to you about something that in most cases we really don't discuss much, and that is the damage that we encounter in life so frequently. Let me read this verse to you. 1 Peter 5:7. In the King James Version, it says, casting all your care upon him, for he careth for you. Another translation says, if you have any kind of trouble in your mind, give it to God. God has promised to take care of you. I want you to rest your heart and your mind and your spirit on that for a few minutes. We want to talk about embracing damage. Now, this word damage, it means or describes something after harm has been caused to it that sometimes causes it to lose its value. Damage, it lessens the value. Have you been through something that you feel have lessened your value? Have you been in a situation? Have you dealt with somebody or dealt with something that you really feel has given you a hard time and you feel less than who you really are? I want to talk about the damage, not running from it, but embracing that damage, taking it, giving it to God, and allowing God to make the most of it. One thing about damage, depending on how it's done, who it's done by, I know they say that sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Well, I've been alive for a little while, and I found out that sometimes who the words are coming from, how they're said, often make a big difference, and they do hurt. Sometimes they put you in a place that I want to describe as trauma. Trauma happens in our life, and sometimes it causes our emotions to run homeless. Our emotions run so wild, they rest nowhere. There's no friend that seems to satisfy. There's nothing you can do that seems to satisfy. You wake up in the morning dealing with your running emotions. You come in the evening, and trying to go to sleep is hard because you're dealing with racing or running emotions caused by the trauma of damage or the lessening of your value. A lot of times people who don't feel pain find it easy to hurt others. If you throw a rock and you hit someone else, it hurts them, but you feel nothing. So it's easy to throw the rock. Trauma is the response to a deeply distressing or disturbing event that overwhelms an individual's ability to cope. When you're dealing with trauma, your best thinking is not done. Your ability to cope with things that normally would be simple and easy to you, they become hard. Some of you have been traumatized over how you've been treated or not treated in some cases. It causes feelings of hopelessness to come about. And then as you deal with that, you start to feel the pieces of your life falling to the ground. You feel more like a big pile, I guess I could say, of broken pieces instead of a loved or valued person. When you're dealing with this feeling of brokenness, it sets in, and a person feels left in hundreds of pieces with nowhere to go. I want to talk to you just a few minutes. Sometimes what breaks you or what crumbles you up and cause you to fall apart and cause your value to dissipate or disappear or just become invisible to you and those around you. Sometimes it can be the loss of a loved one. Sometimes it can be a broken relationship. Sometimes it can just be your own faults and letting yourself down repeatedly, your own failures. Whatever it is, God got an answer for you tonight, today, whenever you're listening to this. There are some of you that God, He been waiting for you to just bring Him all of those broken pieces and let Him show you what He can do. He's the master at taking broken pieces and making everything all right. I want to talk to you about embracing those wounds or the brokenness, not being afraid of it, not hiding it or overlooking it anymore. It happened. It hurt you. It broke you. It made you feel less than you ever felt in your life. You're at a point, yeah, that happened. Let's deal with that. We are good at covering things up and not fixing them, but covering them over and pretending all is well. A lot of times when I'm preaching, I call married people who do that, I call them the make likes. It doesn't matter what's going on or not going on in their home or their marriage. They make like all is well. They smile and they hug, and sometimes they'll hold hands a little bit, anything to pretend or make like all is well. I want to talk to you about fixing what's wrong with you, taking it to God and trusting Him to take all of those broken pieces and putting you back together again. I was thinking about this and I thought about, in Japan, they have this thing that they do called kintsugi. Now, when they deal with kintsugi, what they do is they take a glue-like substance and it has a golden powder mixed in it. And they take broken bowls, cups, whatever is broken, and they put them back together again. And this kind of art has become pretty much famous there. We don't do it much here in our side of the world, but I want you to look at how it works. They became famous for turning broken objects into even more beautiful pieces than they originally were after they had been broken. The parts that had been broken on the bowl or the cup didn't signify its end, but rather it signified simply a moment in its existence. What happened to you, it did not end your life. It did not end your ministry. It did not end you. It is not the story you would tell from now on. It simply signifies a moment in your life as you were passing through. They call it golden significance. When they fix the cup or the bowl, you look at it, you see where it was broken, but it looks so good because you see the golden seams where they put it back together. Now, over here, we use different kinds of glue, and some of you all know about Elmer's glue. If you use the Elmer's glue to do this, you'd have a lot of white lines going through everything. Picture it being gold. Now that cup appears more valuable than it was in the beginning. Whoever hurt you or whatever you went through, I'm sure somebody probably thought you were over, you were ended. But what God is about to do now is make your life more meaningful, your joy more full than it was when you started. Ernest Hemingway, in A Farewell to Arms, said that the world breaks everyone, and afterwards many are strong in the broken places. This is the part that makes the enemy upset. He does his best to destroy us, to break us down, to hold us, to make us nothing, to make us lose our vision, lose our sight, and even our faith. Yet we trust God, and in the process of God restoring and repairing us, we become strong in the broken places. This is why I'm suggesting to you now, don't run from it. Embrace the damage. Embrace the brokenness, because God's about to make your weakest place, your strongest place. He's turning it around so that the enemy gets no glory. He has no keys. He can't push any buttons anymore. It's become your strongest place. This art of fixing broken things symbolizes the truth that repairs require transformation. Some of you right now listening to me, you need to stop and just start thinking all over again. Reframe your mind. I used to go to people's house when I was a little boy with my mom, and some of the older people, they couldn't do a lot of things in their home. And some of them had pictures that they loved and cherished, and they were in the frame, but the frame was broken and the picture was leaning forward, coming out of the frame, and it was just barely hanging on. And sometimes the picture had value and it had meaning. It simply needed to be reframed. Sometimes our mind gets to running on things we've been through and we start expecting what we got used to. What you need to do is reframe your mind. Take your mind away from what the devil told you. Frame it inside of what God's word says. He says you're not a failure. You can do all things. He says that he loves you. He made you to understand that it's more to your life. He would that you not only have life, but have it more abundantly. So sometime along the way, we have these things that happen that damage us or break us up. And the pristine or the original condition of our lives is less beautiful than the broken part of us. There are many people that I talk to sometime and they talk about what all they've been through. And when they look at where they are now, the old people back when I was a little boy, they would say, my soul looked back and wonder how I made it over. I didn't see how I got through that. But now that I got through it, I got past it, God brought me beyond it. I see greater things now. I look different to myself. There are many women that have been mistreated, have been through some things, but when God brought them through, they're queens now. They feel that way, they act that way, they talk that way, and they don't go back. They don't look back to where they've been. The after part became greater than the beginning. This is what this kintsugi fixing of a broken vessel or a pot or a cup or a plate, it makes it more valuable than it was in the beginning. The true shape of us is impossible to see until it's fractured, until a wound of some kind, like a crack running down the side of a cup, until a wound hits you and spreads like that crack in that cup through your life and have to be fixed by God's hand. Sometimes you never really know who you are, what your purpose, why you're special and loved by God. He starts to show us. Now, I liken God's grace, God's love, and God's mercy to this kintsugi way of doing things in Japan. When God puts us back together, he makes us better than we were the first time. He makes us better than we ever thought we could be. Your grandmama loved you. Your grandfather loved you. Your mom and your dad, they love you. Whoever loved you, somehow God even brought you out and made you more than they thought you would be. They were rooting for you, cheering you on because they saw you as great when you were crawling across the floor and when you first learned to walk. Some of you that have children and have watched them grow up, how excited were you when you saw them take their first steps? He went on to become an NFL player, a famous basketball player, a track runner. And he did even greater than you could even imagine. This is what God wants to do in our lives now. You might have been broken beyond what you thought could be repaired, but God said, no, I got you. Bring me all of your broken pieces. It doesn't matter how they hurt you. It doesn't matter what they meant to do. I wish Joseph was here to help me talk about this. His family and others meant him great harm. But God had a plan. Even though he was down in the hole, he got out. Even though he went to prison on false charges and was held as if he was guilty, God got him out. But when God brought him out, he didn't put him back where he was. He brought him out kind of like in Psalms 66, verse 10, 11, and 12. We went through the water and the fire, but when he brought us out, he brought us out into a wealthy place, a larger place, a better place with more value. So the value you thought you lost wasn't anything compared to the value God's about to give you. Trust whatever is bothering you to him. Cast your cares on him. He know how to take your life and put it back together, and he does it better than you could ever imagine. He's an artist at doing these kinds of things. He can take nothing and do something with it. He took a man named Saul who was persecuting and punishing and killing Christians and made him one of the greatest preachers ever, changed his name to Paul. He put all of those pieces together and made him something great. He took another woman who happened to be at the well one day. Jesus talked to her a little while, and he told her some things that I guess she knew he wasn't supposed to know. And they started talking about her marriage and her life and her relationships and all of that. And he simply made it plain, you got somebody now, and the one you got now ain't yours. He told her all of that, but he was working at what he do. He took a woman who came to the well daily in a routine way of life and made everything brand new in one conversation. Let him do that for you. He can change everything. And you know what I like about him? He don't send you to the ATM. He don't tell you half a prophecy and then tell you if you go and get X amount of dollars and come back, I'll finish telling you or blessing you. He just blesses. And he gets me with the part where while we were yet sinners, Christ died. He hung on the cross, bled and died while we were yet sinners. We hadn't straightened up. Wasn't nothing looking good. Wasn't no light at the end of the tunnel. He did it anyway because he loved us. So he first loved us. My. God so loved the world, he gave his son. His son loved us so much, he gave his life. Let him fix yours. He's a specialist at what he does. When you look at the gold behind me, that was just to give you an idea of what the gold streaks look like running through the cups and the plates a little bit. The writing says you are more beautiful because you have been broken. Being broken didn't stop you. It didn't take anything from you. It added to you. Embrace it now. Stand up in the beauty of that. Let him take your ashes and give you the beauty of what you've been through, the beauty for what you've been through. Don't let the devil talk to you and tell you, wow, you really got hurt. You really went through a whole lot of bad stuff and you'll never, ever be worth anything. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Broken is beautiful. We have been broken. You have been broken. I've been broken. All of us have been to that point where we thought we couldn't go any further, would never go any further, but here we are. How we got here is a wonder in most cases, but that's what God does. He works in a wonder. He does things that we can't explain. He brings us out and through situations and places that we never imagined getting out of. We don't know how we got in them, and we have no clue on how to get out. Then all of a sudden, his love, his mercy, his grace reaches out to us. He rescues us. And thank God for the blood. The power that the blood has, it has not gotten weak in any way. So whoever you are that hear this is not really a sermon. I'm just talking to you to encourage you and letting you know that you don't have to stay where you've been. where you are. You don't have to hurt like you have been hurting. God is ready to fix that. He's ready to lift you up and bring you out. There's some good stuff waiting on you in Him. There's nothing that the witches can do to help. There's nothing that you can go to the palm reader that they can tell you that'll fix it. But just a little talk with Jesus will make it right. Come to Him while you got time. Let Him fix it. Don't let your life end and you have not lived. Don't die before you've lived. Come to Him. Let Him bless you and let Him take all of those broken pieces and put them together. And every time somebody remember what happened to you or who you were, what you did, it'll be like the gold running through that cup. It'll be a testimony that I had been broken, but now my brokenness has become my strength and my beauty. God bless you. Enjoy living your life to the fullest in God. He's the one that can show you just how that's done. He has a way of touching life just a little bit and making it more than you could ever imagine. Embrace the damage. Embrace the brokenness. God will do the rest.